Have you ever felt like you're constantly saying yes to everyone, even when you're screaming no on the inside? That was Henry, a genuinely nice guy, a people pleaser to the core. If you asked him for a favor, he'd drop everything to help, even if it meant his own life would unravel a little. His colleagues called him reliable. His friends called him a lifesaver. But late at night, when the house was quiet, Henry would just call himself tired, utterly exhausted. It started small, as it always does. A colleague, Sarah, asked him to stay late to help finish her report. "You're just so much better at this stuff, Henry," she'd said with a smile. Henry had a date planned, one he was actually excited about, but he cancelled. He told himself Sarah really needed the help. The report got done. Sarah got the praise, and Henry got a text saying, maybe some other time. Then it was his friend, Mark, who needed to borrow his car for the weekend. Again, this meant Henry had to cancel his hiking trip, the one thing he'd been looking forward to all month to de-stress. "You're a legend, mate," Mark had cheered, tossing the keys back on Monday with the fuel tank on empty. Henry just smiled and said, "No problem." But it was a problem. He felt a quiet resentment simmering, a feeling he quickly pushed down. It felt selfish to be upset when he was just trying to be a good friend. His family wasn't much different. His sister would call at all hours, expecting him to be her on-demand therapist. And his parents had him on speed dial for every minor tech issue. His boss had just dropped a huge last-minute project on his desk, saying, "I know I can count on you, Henry." At the same time, his phone buzzed. It was Sarah asking him to cover her shift, Mark asking for another quick loan, and his sister sending a barrage of texts about her latest drama. Henry just stared at his screen. He felt a strange buzzing in his ears, and the words on his computer monitor started to blur. He felt like he was drowning in a sea of other people's needs. He wasn't Henry anymore. He was just a collection of favors, a sum of other people's expectations. He stood up, walked out of the office without a word, and just kept walking. He ended up at a park, sitting on a bench he'd never noticed before. He watched kids playing, people walking their dogs, couples laughing. They all seemed so present in their own lives. He, on the other hand, felt like a ghost in his. The old Henry would have caved. The new Henry held firm. "Sorry, I can't." There was an awkward silence, but then Mark just said, "All right, no worries. I'll figure something else out." And he did. Henry went on his hiking trip that weekend, and the air in the mountains had never felt so fresh, so clean. The hardest conversation was with his sister. When she called with her next crisis, he listened patiently for a few minutes, and then he said gently, setting boundaries was a skill Henry had to practice every single day. Some people in his life didn't like the new Henry. They were used to the one who always said yes. A few acquaintances drifted away, and that was okay. He realized those relationships were built on what he could do for them, not on who he was. But the real friends, the real family, they stayed. In fact, their relationships got stronger, built on a foundation of mutual respect. His colleagues started seeing him as a focused professional, not just the office helper. His friends started treating him as an equal, not a resource. Henry started rediscovering himself. He had more time for his hobbies. He started painting again, something he hadn't done since college. He went on dates without the fear of having to cancel. He was still a kind and helpful person, but now his kindness came from a place of genuine desire, not a place of obligation. And in doing so, he didn't just become more respected by others. He finally learned to respect himself. So if you feel like Henry, if you're drowning in a sea of yes, know that it's okay to build a lifeboat. It's okay to say no. It's not selfish, it's survival. Your time, your energy, and your happiness are yours. Protect them. It might be the most important thing you ever do. Thanks for watching. If this story resonated with you, give it a like and subscribe for more content on building a life you love. We'll see you in the next one.